series finale of The Boys just aired. I'm going to hop straight into spoilers, so if you do not want to be spoiled about the newest season, click off this video. This season suffered from bad pacing and just stupid character decisions in order for the plot to move forward. Episode 1 gives you this false sense of urgency, that this season is going to be high stake. A-Train, a member since season 1, an original member of the Seven, gets killed in the first episode. This makes you think that nobody is safe, when that's just not true. Homelander and A-Train's fight was great, and I think it was one of the highlights of this season. It visually looked good, and it carried a lot of emotional weight to it. But I almost feel like it happened too soon, because it left Noir and Deep with nothing to do the rest of the season. Their subplot is so disconnected from the main characters that they kind of feel like they don't even belong in this season. The boys are going through the same exact arcs they always go through. They get into some conflict with each other. Kamiko and Frenchie break up for the 5th time. Huey finds out that Butcher is worse than he let on to. And then they all make up at the end and complete their mission. We see Butcher at the end of season 4 go all out, that he has almost no humanity left. He rips apart a potential ally just to show how far he's willing to go to take down Homelander and have nobody in his way to stop him. Then we get into season 5 and he's not that same character anymore. He's almost gotten weaker. He's gotten softer. He's not really any different than he was before he ripped Vicky apart. He still has emotional attachments to the boys. And really, it's not till the last episode till we get the Butcher that we should have had this whole time. When Ryan rejects him, Tara dies, and he ultimately has nothing left to live for. The best parts of the season are within the Seven. Firecracker was a very entertaining character this season with her whole dynamic with Soldier Boy, with Homelander, and ultimately with her pastor, who he took care of her as a child, and then she flips on him in order to try to gain favor with Homelander, which ultimately backfires on her. She had a shot at redemption. She didn't take it, and she paid the price anyway. Homelander was also really great this season. Anthony Starr absolutely killed it, especially the final episode when Homelander gets depowered, and you just see how pathetic Homelander turns out to be. He can't fight anymore. He doesn't have his crutch anymore. He's just a normal person, and he's completely powerless. Someone who once thought they were immortal is now just a normal person, and then they show how pathetic they are as a normal human, while Butcher is more confident than ever. But I really wish that these major plot points picked up faster in the season. Homelander should have killed the president way earlier on. This should have happened like episode 4, 5, or 6, like somewhere in the mid-season. He takes over as president. He realizes that there's too many parameters as president. He can't do what he wants as president. He still needs more power. The power he currently has just isn't enough. He still feels lonely inside, and he thinks in order to fix the loneliness that he needs even more power, and that's when he should have tried to ascend into godhood, not just immediately try to ascend into godhood and then take over the presidency. Season 5 just does not feel like a final season when you're watching it. It feels like there's no stakes, it feels like there's no urgency, and as much as I hate using this word, it does feel very filler. We have 2 episodes where they're experimenting with new concepts, which is fine, but in a final season that's very risky, and I don't think it really paid off. The first being the haunted house concept. When they go to find the V1, there's spores in the air that's making them all act hostile towards each other. And it really just seems like an excuse for the boys to be at each other's throats again for the 5th season. Meanwhile, while they're all at each other's throats, Soldier Boy and Homelander are also there. They are within like 20 feet of the boys, and there's no interactions there. They all come out untouched. Like, someone should have died right there. It's like Homelander doesn't have his super hearing or super sight anymore. He is desperate for the V1. He knows they have a virus that could take him out, and they just get away scot-free without any deaths. You know what would really up the stakes right here? If one of the boys would have died right there, and the only reason they got out is because Soldier Boy was still conflicted about Homelander getting the V1. This happens again in episode 6, when the boys are like 20 feet away from Homelander as Homelander is powered up by the V1. Butcher says run, you know shit hits the fan, and then the next episode they just cut away from it and they just escaped off screen. Homelander would have killed them right there. How did they get away? We're never shown that. Oh, and here's Bombsight here to promote Vault Rising. He's one of the strongest soups around. We just met him now. Make sure you watch Vault Rising. The other experimental episode was the POVs episode, which I feel like was one of the more meaningful episodes of the season. It's just funny that they decided to do this in the final season instead of doing it the other 4 seasons, but I feel like it kind of worked here. We get a lot of insight into each of the characters and what they're currently dealing with. We see characters like Deep and Noir have nothing to do, and they're just on their own side quest of one-upping each other on pettiness. We see that Firecracker is actually conflicted with her actions, and with what to do. And then Tara's POV gives us insight on what's going on with the boys' headquarters from her own perspective, showcasing the humanity Butcher has left and just how the whole group dynamic works. Then you have Soldier Boy being brought back this season, which he was my favorite character in Season 3. In Season 3, it was all about him getting payback on Payback, his former teammates that betrayed him, that sold him out to the Russians. His entire driving force for staying alive was Crimson Countess. She was his true love. The thought of her is what kept Soldier Boy going through all the experiments that he went through. And all of that was completely retconned in Season 5. Crimson Countess isn't even mentioned anymore. Soldier Boy is just a jobber now. He gets woken up out of captivity and just does whatever Homelander tells him to do. It feels like it's so out of character. Soldier Boy would never take orders from anybody else. In Season 3, that was like heavily implied. Like, yeah, he'll make deals as long as he's getting something out of it. He's not getting anything out of this, and he's just brainlessly following Homelander's orders when he thinks Homelander is a coward, when he thinks Homelander is weak, that he isn't strong. Then this point's driven even further when they retcon Soldier Boy's love interest. It was really Liberty who he loved this whole time. Lady Liberty was his true love. She matters more than anything, even his own personal code, his own personal beliefs. Soldier Boy cannot stand Homelander and constantly is dragging him down, saying how weak he is, saying how he doesn't deserve the V1, but ultimately gives Homelander the V1 because it's what Liberty would have wanted. Liberty saw him as the strongest. Who cares what Liberty thinks? Why does Soldier Boy care? Well, we're gonna find out in the Vought Rising spinoff, so stay tuned. It's like his entire purpose for being in this season was just to be an advertisement, especially at the end when him and Homelander have this pathetic fight. They could have had an actual meaningful fight, but instead Homelander just chokes out Soldier Boy and throws him back into Cairo sleep, so that way he could be in the other Boys spinoff, The Boys Mexico. It's like these characters aren't allowed to have a proper ending because they need to be alive for the next 20 spinoffs. Instead of giving Soldier Boy an actual meaningful part in the finale, they ice him right before the finale and then give the glory to Kimiko to depower him. It would have been so much more meaningful in the finale if it was Soldier Boy who ended up depowering Homelander because he ultimately saw him as inferior, as someone that does not deserve godhood after how pathetic he was. Imagine Soldier Boy seeing how Homelander acted when he was depowered. That would have been very dissatisfying, especially if he was the one to do it. Instead, he was used as a walking advertisement for this entire season and then iced before anything meaningful can happen. But hey, at least Homelander got the V1. Oh, and it was delivered by Bombsight. Bombsight appears for a few minutes. Hello, Bombsight. Bye, Bombsight. See you in the spinoff. It's like, okay, we just introduced the Soup, who is in the same power level as Homelander, and he just runs off. And again, Marie and the Gen V kids are in this show. You know, Marie, someone who was constantly said to be at Homelander's power level, does nothing. She showcases none of her powers, and is just there to kind of advertise Gen V, even though Gen V got Season 3 canceled before this season even finished airing. So it's like, these characters' inclusions just feel pointless, especially because they're just doing pointless things. A lot of these problems could have been solved if the finale was in 2 episodes. Episode 8 should have been 2 different episodes. The first episode should have been destroying Homelander himself, and the second episode should have been dealing with the repercussions of that episode and Butcher losing all of his humanity. That's when he loses Brian. That's when he loses Tara. He should go on like a little bit of a rampage just killing Soups before ultimately being stopped by Huey to unleash the virus to everyone. The final confrontation between Homelander should have been Homelander in the Oval Office in the White House with a bunch of Soups protecting him, and then Butcher and his allies, along with a few allied Soups, going up against all those protecting the White House. You know, Homelander sees people actually fighting and dying for him because Soups will be on his side. If he could get Allfather, he could get a bunch of Soups to be on his side, while also expanding the world building of this season, showcasing that Homelander's actions and words actually have consequences in the world of the boys itself, where we just see it talked about on the news and maybe like a person or two talk us about what's going on outside. We don't actually see it. The world feels so small compared to seasons 1 through 4. But that's also what happens when almost every single episode takes place in the same 3 settings. You have location of the week, you have the boys HQ, and you have Vought Tower. That is it, and that makes the world feel so small compared to all the other seasons. Homelander is at his absolute worst right now, trying to gain control of the entire country, yet we only see his small circle. We don't see how it's actually affecting the people outside. And this would have been a perfect way to showcase that, how Soups feel about all the issues. issues, having them allied with Homelander and have them allied against Homelander. But we just don't get that. And I was really hoping, ever since I saw the first season of The Boys and I saw the comics, I saw this panel, I was really hoping for this to be adapted into live action, and we never got it. And then we have the problem with Sage, where you have an intelligent character written by non-intelligent people. She is like the Grand Admiral Thrawn of The Boys universe. Oh, I have this plan. Oh, it failed. It was actually part of the bigger plan. Oh, that failed. It was actually part of my grand plan. And if that fails, that's part of the master plan. Just to end up in the unknown regions of space. Her overall idea and why she wanted to do this to begin with was just so that way she could get some peace and quiet and can read whenever she wants. Mind you, Homelander came to her and she accepted his offer. She could have said no and been left alone, and nothing would have changed. And even after she joined the Seven, she got fired from Homelander. She was visibly upset about it. So then why are you upset if you just want to read and be left alone? You would have been left alone. Nobody would have cared to check on you anymore. But no, her entire motivation was to get Homelander and the boys to face off against each other so that way they could wipe each other out and she could be left alone in a bunker. That is wonderful. One thing I wanted to note real quick was I did like how MM was given his nickname and how he explained why he was given his nickname. It was still a tie into the comics where his main source of his power and why he's alive is his mother's milk, while in the show, that's his driving force on why he does what he does. Ultimately, this season's just bogged down by stupid decisions and slow pacing in what feels like filler to a lot of people. The ending that feels rushed. And ultimately, the season just feels like a big advertisement for the two spinoffs for The Boys. But this is something I've been saying that's been a problem for a while and it's going to continue to happen, is that TV shows are not allowed to end. They're not allowed to have satisfying conclusions because you have to set up the next series of spinoffs. And that's exactly what The Boys did, and that's exactly my problem with it. Anyway, let me know what you guys think of The Boys down below. Did you enjoy it? Did it let you down? Ultimately, I think I have to give it a 4.5 out of 10. There's a lot that could have happened, a lot that needed to be changed, and that just does not work with the final season of the show that's been going on for 7 years. If you like this season, I want to know why. So let me know if you genuinely did enjoy this season throughout. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next one.